Hey, what's up, Stay Tuners? It's your good friend Jimbo here, letting you know that today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member and you can too. Apply today and let them know that you heard it from Stay Tuned Sports and you start earning today. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
Heard the rest. Now here's the best Stay Tuned Sports Podcast.
And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo here, back again with a little bit of another slow week of sports news. One story we're going to be talking about kind of happened last week, still carried on a little bit over the weekend. As well as recapping last Friday's Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series race over at Michigan. And we're also going to be talking about the whole Tim Tebow backlash that's going on right now with him, I guess not official yet, but it looks like he's going to be signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So before we get going with the show, head over to staytunedsports.net. On the right hand side there is all of our social media accounts. Follow, like, even share them out there so we can get some more fans to follow us here. And on the top of our website there is our merch tab. So in case you want to buy some nice t-shirts for the beach or, you know, campfire, since the weather's getting a little bit nicer now, that's the place to go. That's where you want to get the Stay Tuned Sports merch. So, like I said, last Friday, the NSRA guys were at Michigan for the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series, and really good race once again. This is the fourth race of the season, and Martinsville obviously was probably the least good one of all four, but it was still good. And I'm starting to catch on to that. I may be the kiss of death. You know how I give my top three guys to watch for races, and sure enough, it hit Ben Izinga last week. He was out early, taken out very early. I want to say the first 10 laps. Within the first 10 laps, he was taken out. Andrew Himmelman, who was another one of my picks, he was doing pretty good, and then he got caught up in one of the wrecks too. Now, I do think I had Chris Darling as my third pick, and he ended up winning it. And the last 10 laps of that race, even the commentators thought he wasn't gonna have enough juice to stay up there, and sure enough, he did, and was pretty consistent the whole race. Raced up front pretty much the whole race, whether it was first place or top five, but he knew when to turn it on and take it over, and sure enough, he did. As far as the Stay Tuned Sports truck, James Lorello, not the best race, but not the worst. He pretty much was mid-pack the whole race, so he's still fourth in points. Chris Darling took first place in the point standings back over this week. And this Friday, we actually are going to, in this race, I've been looking forward to when they release the schedule out. It's going to be Bristol on dirt. A few weeks back, the NASCAR guys actually did a iRacing on it as well, and that was very interesting to watch. Now you put these trucks on there, and from what I'm gathering, listen to these guys talk, it's going to be a lot of bumping and grinding between the trucks. It's one thing to get the cars to slide in this dirt, but it sounds like basically you're throwing bricks through the dirt. And speaking of Chris Darling, another shout out to him. He ran the autism awareness truck again last week, And I'm actually going to have a special guest on here in a few minutes to talk to him to see what he thought about the race last week as well. So before I have that guest on, my kiss of death, if you want to call it that, which I feel bad because I actually picking these guys thinking they're going to actually be up top 5, top 10 every week. I'm not trying to jinx them so they get knocked out early, but it's actually going to be a bunch of young bucks for my picks this week. I got JT Poole, Mitchell Adams, and Andrew Himmelman again. I think are the three to watch. I mean, I know Andrew's been practicing a lot lately on the track. I'm not too sure about JT and Mitchell, but I'm solely basing these picks on, I figure they're young kids. They have plenty of time to practice this. Us older guys that have to work 40, 50 hours a week, we don't have that much time to practice. So be curious to see if my picks come through this week. Obviously, just like every week, I'm hoping James Lorillo in the STS truck takes first place. But after him, those are my 3 picks that I believe are going to be the racers to watch this Friday at Bristol Dirt over on YouTube. 3Y TV, 9 o'clock. So make sure you guys tune in. Come join the chat with us. A lot of fun times there. So before I go to the next segment, let me bring my guest in here, Andrew McConnell, who past 2 weeks, I guess you have been slowly becoming a fan of iRacing, haven't you?
Depends.
On what? What do you mean?
Because I haven't been watching interest in racing that much lately how it is, but I'm slowly starting getting interest in racing, but I still need like something like 3 more tracks to get me really interested.
Well, the track that's they're racing this week is Bristol Dirt. You remember the NASCAR guys doing that one?
Yeah, I thought that was a dusty one. Whoever put so much dirt in there must have regretted it.
Well, what did you think about Christopher Darling's truck that he kind of dedicated to you?
Say, if Chris Darling was listen to this, I gotta say thank you so much for driving this truck and sponsoring for the autism and putting my name on there without noticing it.
That was pretty cool having your name on the front of the truck, wasn't it?
Yeah, and nicknaming the truck Max Graphics with the rainbows and stuff like that. That really got me into the movie. I mean, it was like a really cool truck, even though he drives like a Ford truck, but still, it was a pretty fast race though. And I also, if you're listening to this, Chris, I'd like to say congratulations on making it to the first place on the last race.
Well, I'm pretty sure he'll be listening, so I'm sure that he'll appreciate you thanking him. So now I just gave my 3 racers to watch for Bristol Dirt. I'm assuming you probably don't want to pick 3. You only want to pick 1. Who do you think is gonna win?
I got like 3. Yeah, I do. We already know our first one, which is I definitely know you got James Loretto. Okay. And I got James. I think I'll go with Jerry Garcia though, because remember last race he was shoving Chris.
No, not Jerry Garcia. Jason Grassi is probably you're thinking of.
Gee, thank you so much. I say Jerry Garcia like hey Jerry.
Well, they do have good ice cream though.
That's good. I do admit though, but he was shoving Chris too on the last race too to get him a little further. I'm pretty sure they were teammates, but I just don't know yet.
I think they are, but I'll have to ask him after the show. So you think Chris is gonna win this week though?
Hopefully though, because if you don't remember Martinsville, your guy just destroyed me. Like literally legit. Thank goodness we're in 7th place though.
Well, with Chris winning last week, he actually took over the points, so he's leading the points for the season now. James Lorella's in 4th right now, so you're still beating me in the point standings for the championship, but you got 13, I think, more races for the season.
Yeah, I still don't get it though why Bill Edwards, the wine, whiskey, and review truck driver, didn't join the last race.
He was on vacation. Yeah, so he was on vacation. Is there anything else you want to say?
All in all, it's just that hopefully this race it won't be this bad though, because it's going to be Bristol.
Bristol Dirt.
Yeah.
It's a short
Because if
track
you don't
with
know
dirt.
what Bristol Roadway is, it's kind of larger than Martinsville, but
It might be a little bit larger. I'm not too sure. Not too much. It's considered it's called a short track considered.
yeah, even though it's just a short track though, but Bristol is at least a little larger than Martinsville because it has lots. Because you don't know yet, I'm pretty sure Martinsville has the most accidents.
Yeah, so far. So the past 2 weeks though, me and you kind of been texting back and forth during the race. Trying to be quiet and everything in the house. So last week I think our deal was I was going to cut the grass if Chris won, which I cut the grass. I held up my end of the bargain.
Good.
What are we gonna bet this week? Or what are we gonna bet this week? Same thing. Whoever.
Let's do something a little bit different.
Okay.
If you win, you're gonna have to make me do some extra homework.
Okay.
Actually, think of like some sort of chores you want me to do.
Okay. And
For if Tris Darling wins, I will have to. I'm gonna have to make you.
if you still need time to think about it, we'll
Yeah, I'm still thinking about it. Yeah, but
we'll announce on
whatever
Facebook.
Yeah, okay, so like I said, I'm still thinking of what I'm gonna deal with Dad if I win. But Dad already knows that he's gonna do some extra homework for me in case he wins. Okay, so if neither of us wins, whoever is a higher place gets to still do it.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
So just in case, so if we don't win, if any of our truck drivers is higher than another one, that person will still do the bet.
Okay. All right. I think that's gonna be it for this segment. So maybe I'll have you if Chris wins again this week. I'll have you on again next week to see what your reaction was. Okay.
Yeah.
So last week there was a little incident with Mr. Tom Wilson from the Washington Capitals. Got a little scrum with the New York Rangers, and basically body slammed Panarin into the ground, picked him back up, and then ragdolled him a little bit more. NHL, in my opinion, I think dropped the ball. Only fining him $5,000 when I personally thought he's a repeat offender, so he should have got some type of suspension. And then on top of that, Shane Gostisbehere, who I want to say gently pushed Friedman, the Penguins guy, into the boards at the end of their game, and he gets suspended for 2 games. Someone who has never been suspended in his whole career. Tom Wilson has multiple suspensions in his career, and I'm not mad at him, Tom Wilson, about the Panarin thing, because here's my feeling on it and belief that if you don't want to get hurt, don't get involved in the scrum. Now, what Wilson did beforehand, that pretty much triggered the whole brouhaha, was he pinned down Pavel Buchnevich. I can never say those names. Sorry, guys. And as he pinned him down, because he went to jab at the puck to try to get into net, and so as he pinned him down, punched him in the back of the head. I mean, that right there. I understand you want to stand up for your goalie and everything like that. That's the right thing to do. But you don't punch someone in the back of the head, and that's what started the whole fight. And then a couple days later they played. Had 6 fights within the first period or something like that. Well, now I see everybody's happy that Tom Wilson had an injury, I believe, against my Flyers, a knee-on-knee incident that forced him out of the game. Yes, he's a dirty player. I understand that. You don't want to see someone get hurt, though. Even that Rangers retaliation game, he didn't start on the front line. Took a couple of shifts before they put him out there. As soon as they put him out there, him and I forget which Ranger guy it was, got into the fight, and Wilson was out the rest of the game with an upper body injury, supposedly. To me, that was just, a lie just to keep him out because they knew how the rest of the game was going to go. Everybody's mad at NHL for this, and there's no, just like every league, Roger Goodell, Manfred from MLB, there's no consistency. Again, here's a guy who is a known repeat offender, who was just suspended back in March, I believe it was, for like 7 games for a boarding call, and doesn't get suspended for this. So they pretty much set the precedent by not suspending them. That opened the door for the Rangers. Now, I know our good buddy King has been bashing the Rangers, saying they're a bunch of crybabies, this and that. If the NHL would have suspended Wilson, the big fight, the big 6 fights or whatever that happened that game would never happen. And now, And now, you can't go back from it. So, like, what? So now every time you get into a fight or whatever, you only get a $5,000 fine. That aspect of it, I think, needs to be changed too, as far as in sports, not just the NHL. It should be a percentage. Like, if you make $3 million, you'll be fined 25% of your yearly salary. $3 million, that's a little bit less than $1 million. What do you think $5,000 is going to do to Tom Wilson, who's probably making a couple million? It's going to do nothing. You start hitting these guys in the pocket, then they're going to start thinking about it. NHL, NFL, they all say about player safety. They're worried about player safety with the concussions and CTEs and stuff like that. Well, here you have a guy punching another person in the back of the head. And it's not safe, and how he did it. I mean, the guy's head was already pushed up against the ice, so there's nowhere for the head to go. It's just not a good look for the NHL. Once again, it's like they take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. And especially next day, after you find him $5,000, you suspend Shane Gostisbehere, who's never been suspended in his life, suspended 2 games. If anything, it should have been the other way around. It should have been Tom Wilson, 2 games, and Gostisbehere, $5,000. But no. For whatever reason, NHL dropped the ball once again. So this past week, rumors started floating about Tim Tebow making an NFL comeback. I believe actually right before the draft, rumors started coming out that he tried out with the Jaguars as a tight end, not as a quarterback here. Well, the rumors, again, because I don't know if they officially signed him, but it's pretty much a done deal. He's going to be signed on to the Jacksonville Jaguars as a tight end to a 1-year deal. And of course, here we go again with, well, he's been out of the league for 6 years. Why didn't Colin Kaepernick get re-signed or signed to a new team? Before I touch on the Kaepernick thing, let me just say this about Tebow. I think it's a good sign for them on a couple reasons. You just took a rookie quarterback, number 1 overall, so there's going to be unbelievable amount of pressure to perform right out of the gate. I'm not even saying Tebow is a Lawrence, as far as quarterback talent, because he's not. He sucks as a quarterback. But he had a lot of pressure on him to perform, in Denver, in the Jets, things like that. So it's a good move to help be a mentor for Lawrence, to say, hey, this is what you should expect. This is how you need to handle yourself. This this is where a lot of these rookies fall apart because they don't have a mentor to keep them out of making the bad decisions. So this is a good move as far as that. And then on top of that, you look at the Jaguars depth chart as far as tight ends. You have Chris Manhertz, you have rookie Luke Farrell, and Tyler Davis. Okay, so you got 2 rookies, and honestly, maybe because the Jaguars are just that bad last year, I don't even remember who Chris Manhertz is. So he has potential to be a starter next year as a tight end. On top of, you could put him back as an H-back. You know, a lot of times when he was playing quarterback, a lot of people thought he should turn into a running back because of how he was built. Or, you know, be a tight end. Not saying he's going to be MVP this year, not even come close to that. But I think he'll be competitive. You know, the past 5 seasons he's been in the Mets organization from single A, double A. Worked his way all the way up to spring training with the big leagues. So he's shown he's athletic. Everybody knows he's athletic. And the fact that he's coming back as a tight end and not have to worry about being a quarterback, I don't think shape, what kind of shape he's in, is going to be a question because he's always been active. We always talk about football shape. Maybe the first few games he'll be good, but later in the year, I'm curious, especially with adding that extra week on this year, will he, lose a little bit there, a little bit of a oomph, or however you want to say it. But I like the signing. I think it's a good signing. I don't think it gets you extra wins, but like I said, I think it helps the development of their rookie quarterback. Now, as far as some of the pro reactions of him signing with the Jaguars, I forget who said it. The one guy said, so it pays off basically to have relations from the past. Well, and again, this could be strictly a mentor thing. And Urban Meyer, who knows Tim Tebow from his Florida days, knows the type of person he is. He doesn't want to bring a bad apple into the locker room to help mentor his quarterback, help him out with decisions or whatnot. And then you got Devin Bush from the Steelers say, wait till you come over the middle. So we're crucifying a guy for taking a job at a different position than he used to play, whereas Colin Kaepernick has been offered jobs, but he turned down. Why? Because they weren't starting jobs. Tim Tebow, not guaranteed a roster spot, has to play his way onto the roster. But he took the job, he took that chance. So, if Colin Kaepernick never turned down any of the jobs that he was offered, I think Seattle was one. There was 1 or 2 other teams that offered him backup jobs. If he never turned those down, then okay, I would say maybe you would have a little gripe here. But he turned down jobs. You got no leg to stand on. Sorry. But I'm pulling for Tim Tebow. I'm hoping he is at best, at minimum, decent. At best, if he scores 20 receiving touchdowns, it'd be hilarious to see that happen. And up next, we have our Combat Corner, which is sponsored by BetAngles, expert sports betting picks and research tools for only $10. So make sure you guys head over to betangles.com to help you out on your DraftKings or your FanDuel picks, especially with this weekend being a UFC 262, Michael Chandler versus Oliveira. Looking at the card, it looks like another good card. Couple of fighters kind of in a fork in the road type fights here. Just to run down the main fight card, like I said, main event, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler for the lightweight belt. Don't forget, the Eagle, Nurmagomedov, gave up the belt. Co-main event, Tony Ferguson versus Beneil Dariush. Before them, Caitlin Chukagian versus Vivian Araujo. Shane Burgos versus Edson Barboza is right before them. And then kicking off the main card with also our first pick of this UFC 262 Combat Corner pick is Matt Schnell versus Rosario Bontorin. I'll be honest, I kind of heard of Matt Schnell, not so much of the other guy. So I'm going to go with Matt Schnell here. Just because, again, I'm shooting darts in the dark here. After that, though, Shane Burgos versus Edson Barboza. This is a good fight. I've seen a couple fights of Shane, a lot of fights of Edson. From what I remember of Edson Barboza, he has a lot of leg kicks, a lot of weird angles he comes from with them. And just curious to see, after what happened to Chris Weidman a couple weeks ago, are we going to start seeing some of these fighters not throw so many leg kicks? Now, as far as this fight, I'm going to go Edson Barboza, just because I think one of those, he's going to keep throwing those leg kicks like he normally does. And I think one does connect with Shane Burgos. I think this does go a couple rounds, though. It's probably going to be a 3-round fight. I think sometime in the 3rd round, you'll see the stoppage there. After them, we have Caitlin Chukagian versus Vivian Araujo. Going with Chukagian here. She seems like a gatekeeper in a way. Fought for the belt a few fights ago. Just can't beat that top competition, but yet the lesser competition, she pretty much mauls. So I think she will come out on top. I think she'll probably win using her wrestling, but eventually winning by a decision. This next fight, the co-main event, to me, in my mind, is a fork in the road, a crossroads here for Tony Ferguson. Was on a tear a few fights ago, and then just fell apart. It's almost like, is his prime done? Just like Cowboy Cerrone, even though, Jesus Christ, Dana White coming out this past week saying that he'll give Cowboy one last chance to go out on a winning fight. Cowboy's on a six fight losing streak, man. I mean, I hate to see the guy go like this, but as far as Tony Ferguson, he may be in that same conversation. If he doesn't beat Beneil Dariush, who's a tough competitor, it could be the end. It could be done. He could be done. And unfortunately, I think Tony Ferguson is one of those guys that refuses to stop fighting, and someone's going to have to stop him from fighting. Whether it's people just stop signing them to promotions. But as far as this fight, I think Tony finds it. I think he figures out a way to win this fight. This should be a war. Beneil is another hard fighter. Doesn't matter where it's at. He'll fight standing. He'll fight on his back. But I think Tony Ferguson pulls out a decision here in a very entertaining fight between these two. Then the main event, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler for the lightweight belt. A lot of interesting storylines that could come out of this. And I think they all have to do with what happens if Michael Chandler wins. If Michael Chandler wins, does the Eagle come out of retirement? Chandler has brought up his name a few times, trying to goad him to come out of retirement. But if he doesn't, does Conor McGregor go after him? And that's if Conor beats Dustin Poirier. So whoever wins the Poirier and McGregor fight automatically will get a title shot. I mean, who else would there be to put their name in there? even if Tony Ferguson wins, I think you would have to try to match up a Ferguson-Gaethje fight first before you could try to give one of them a title shot. But, I mean, and then Oliveira, who's just peaking at the right time. He's kind of like the Tony Ferguson from a couple years ago. He strung a few fights together. I'm not really sure. I mean, he's probably about 4 or 5 fight win streak going on right now, you know. And I think he could beat Chandler, but the thing is, I think Chandler will win this. I think a lot of people might be thinking Chandler's going to knock out Oliveira, but I think this one's going to go to decision. It's just that Chandler's got to be careful. Oliveira is very good on his back. Chandler's a good wrestler, but he's a decent striker too. So I think he's going to try to. I think the game plan for him would be to try to keep it standing and then win it that way, which I think that's how it goes. I think Chandler's going to win by decision, but I think another close fight though. You know, so, and then after that, I probably wouldn't mind seeing Conor McGregor versus Chandler. But on the flip side, a Poirier-Chandler striking match would be interesting too. So that is our Combat Corner, which is sponsored by BetAngles, expert sports betting picks, and research tools for only $10. So head over to betangles.com for all that expert sports betting stuff, especially with a couple more months, and then we have fantasy football kicking back up. Pretty sure they can help you out there as well. So I think that's going to be it for this week. Just want to thank my son for being on before, Andrew. Make sure you guys tune in this Friday over on YouTube on 3Y TV for Bristol Dirt. You can watch the Stay Tuned Sports podcast truck series at 9 o'clock. Come join us. Pretty fun time. A lot of good people in the chat. So till next week, it's your good friend Jimbo signing out.